Last time it was AlphaTauri, this time it was Alfa Romeo, so next up, it's Alf. He's back, in Pog form. Ciao friends and welcome back to 2sexted. Today was Alfa Romeo's car launch. They revealed to the world the C41 in front of no one in Poland. The C41 of course being the follow-up to the C39, which makes about as much sense as the production codes I use for this very show. I believe next year's will be the C40, because they started work on that first, you see. Unlike McLaren, they didn't make us wait all that long before showing us the car. Just a quick dance routine for some reason, and then we got to see it. Unlike last year, the red's on the bottom. I'll put up some pictures now. So yes, I mean, it is basically what we would expect from an Alfa Romeo racing livery. Red and white. In this case, they've decided to slap a big green clover leaf in the middle of their own logo. That seems like an interesting call. Just really quick, we're like 3 subscribers away from 200, so if you haven't already, please consider just clicking that button. It would mean the world to me. The entire announcement happened live from Poland because of the title sponsor Orlen, who are a Polish company, and therefore they also wheeled out Robert Kubica, who isn't an actual driver for Alfa Romeo, he's just their test and reserve driver. Last year, BWT made Racing Point ship their pink car all the way to Austria to announce it, but it just seems a little bit unnecessary, especially when there isn't a crowd. They had to ship the car and the team all the way out from Switzerland to Poland just to post some pictures online. It seems like a strange move, in my opinion, especially when no one's even there to watch it. Biggest disappointment of the day, of course, though, is they've dropped the little grille shape from the front of last year's car. It's a bit of a shame. I like the way they managed to integrate a little bit of Alfa Romeo flair into their F1 car, but at the end of the day, it is a performance-related part, and the best form of marketing in F1 is going fast, and having a little bit of your brand identity on the front of the car, if it makes you slower, is probably not worth doing. Alfa Romeo Racing is of course owned by Sauber. Alfa Romeo, the car brand, are just a title sponsor. Their parent company, which is now Stellantis, because they used to be Fiat Chrysler and they merged with PSA, which is the Peugeot people. They announced recently that they're already killing off the SRT brand, and rumours have started to circulate that Alfa Romeo might be pulling out of F1, which would leave Sauber quite high and dry, unfortunately. So I wasn't expecting anything radical from this year's livery, just in case that happens. I mean, similarly to Renault last year, for example. If you're pulling the brand out, there's no point rocking the boat. It is a little bit worrying for the future of Sauber though, because they aren't the richest team on the grid and they have had some liquidity issues in the not so distant past. Things seem to be looking up for them when Alfa Romeo started to come on board. But these last few years of poor results, and especially last year with that terrible Ferrari engine, I can see why Alfa Romeo wouldn't be interested in continuing that partnership. Let's just hope that their replacement isn't rich energy. Of course, Ferrari claimed that they have fixed their engine woes for this year. This new engine might be able to drag Alfa Romeo back up the grid, maybe into the midfield. They scored like 8 points last season. And it's not like that's because they've got bad drivers either. Both Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi are incredibly well qualified drivers. And really, the car just let them down all last season. Their 2018 was a little bit better, but they had Charles Leclerc and someone else. I don't know, Marcus Ericsson. Might have been Marcus Ericsson. Anyone else remember Marcus Ericsson? No, me neither. I have to admit, I wasn't watching F1 in 2018, so I only know Charles was there because he's my favourite. All in all, I think the Alfa Romeo livery, on first look, is a little bit clunky. They've gone for a little bit of a boxy aesthetic, and that seems to be, at least in the 3 cars we've seen so far, becoming more prevalent. I don't know if that's just one of those things where designers think, oh, it's a new decade, we should just come up with a style for that new decade. But at the moment, I'm not a particularly big fan of it. The Alfa, I don't think it's a regression from last year. I just think it's not quite the best livery it could have been. And that's similarly true to how I felt about the AlphaTauri and, to a lesser extent, the McLaren as well. Notably, this area just feels a little bit clunky to me. I don't know what I'd do to fix it, but seems like that is it for car launches for the month of February, however. Although the start of March is very busy. We have like 3 or 4 teams launching within a couple days. I think Alpine and Mercedes even reveal on the same day, the 2nd of March. Why don't you drop me a comment, tell me how you feel about this new car. Do you think Alfa Romeo are going to have a good season? Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in a couple of days.